So, and I'm also going to yell because I'm the last guy and you're all tired and you're probably interested in some of this. The big word here is easy and APRS. I have a presentation here that's usually aimed at folks that have not seen APRS before. So first of all, tell me if you, by raising your hand, if you know what APRS is. Raise your hand. Okay, tell me if you have used a website to look at APRS. Raise your hand. Okay, tell me if you have used software other than a website to look at APRS. Excellent. Tell me if you actually have APRS hardware. Okay, so that's awesome. So you've got through most of the presentation there. So you guys have toys that are every bit as good as mine. You make your custom stuff. This is a big red V example. I'll just show you this just real quick. This is a little 36-hour tracker. So it's a 5-watt frequency agile tracker that has a GPS and the battery and everything built in one little case there. We use this a lot for search and rescue. I'm the emergency coordinator for Johnson County, Kansas, and where we put these on firemen and policemen and EMTs when we're working special events and lets us keep track of them. Let's just take a quick look at the activity on the map in the Kansas City area. So for those of you who are from Kansas City, that should look somewhat familiar. That's your hometown, and there's all the little activity that's going on with APRS. We're very fortunate in the Kansas City area that we have amateur radio and APRS in every hospital in the Kansas City area. You can see all the hospitals here. All the hospitals have amateur radio and APRS working all the time, thanks to we got a $350,000 grant to put that equipment in there about 2 years ago. So we're very fortunate. We work to expand that into other metros as well. Here's today. So this is Hutchinson, Kansas, and I missed my guy. What's your call? He's just off the map. So there is one. Other than the people that are here in this room, there's one other guy showing up on the APRS map. Although you will find in the state of Kansas that pretty much every county, if you have a 25-watt tracker, you will usually find yourself in your way up to the internet, into an iGate. So the coverage is better than Missouri. We still got a few more counties that could use some more help. Let me just quickly go through here because you're way above this. What I want to go through is I want to just, for the people that have not seen APRS, give you an example of the normal progression that people go through. I was telling somebody earlier about my gold wing. So this is my gold wing. I do a lot of special events, bike rides and stuff like that. And a lot of times as the event coordinator, you need all the information at your fingertips. And you need to be on the route. And you can't get on the route with a regular car. So I use my gold wing. Right here, we're seeing thunderstorms come in, so we're watching the situational awareness, being aware of the storms as they come in. Having that right in front of you is just critical. So as you can see, we've got live weather radar. It's just one of the little features that UIView can get you, and use it for balloons. Nobody cares about the history. How's it different per packet? Nobody cares. Primary uses, what I use it for and what we enjoy, weather spotting, it's excellent for that, balloon chasing, emergency operations, special events, and just everyday fun. Just quickly, weather spotting, the things that you get out of UIView specifically, and pretty much any APRS client, is detailed mapping. You want a detailed map, you want spotting locations, latest weather info from the National Weather Service, field observations, and see where other people are. It's going to be very similar to what you want in special events as well. Just showing some radar and some weather stations. Emergency operations. If you're helping out with a served agency, you're going to want the same kind of thing. We need the maps. We need the weather. We need the field observations. We need to be able to put things on the map so people can see what we're looking at. Some short messages would be nice. Hey, here's the one you care about. All right, so this is a balloon launch from Field Day out about Topeka about 3 years ago. Nick Stitch and Jerome did that one. So, as a good balloon chaser, what do you need? Detailed map, visibility of balloons, location and height, and their trail, and whenever they update their position, and a log. That's about what we need. Also, the ability to, as you are driving to that balloon and trying to figure out where you are because you're in unfamiliar territory and your navigator is operating, to be able to see where the balloon is and see where your crosshairs are. And when one of them falls off the map, wouldn't it be nice if the application would just zoom out for you so you can still see it? Okay, we can do that. So all those kind of good things. Field observations. See, you could get some idea of what the wind on the ground is doing in real time by looking at your weather stations that are there, and then keeping your convoy from getting lost by being able to see the other chasers on the map as well. I think the battery's going. All right. And special events. That's the one that I do all the time, about every other weekend. All right. Signal travels. For anybody who wants to see this, this will be up on the KC APRS website, so you can see this whole presentation when you have time to do it. So you can take a look at that. Okay, so there are lots of ways to get started with hardware. You don't have to start off with the current version or the brand new stuff. Lots of good stuff at Hamfest can get you started in this hobby. Here's an older example. You guys see all the toys. This is a Tiny Track 3, 33 bucks. It's my favorite, current favorite right now. It's an MT1200. It's about $279 from Cantronics. It's got the GPS built in. If you're going to do a mobile operation, you put in a cheap old Kenwood VHF radio or a cheap old commercial radio, and you can't hardly beat this little box. It's very turnkey, very reliable. It's got a nice hot GPS in it. This is the big red B I just showed you. Anybody play around with the Nuvies at all? So the Nuvies from Garmin do have an interface to the Open Tracker, their fleet management interface. It's kind of hit and miss, depending on which model number you have, but that sure is nice in that small display area and a familiar screen setting to be able to see APRS objects on that screen as well as place other objects out there. Again, about $279. Then you got the commercial boys, the D710, very good stuff. VX8 and the VXDG8R and all those guys. This one's good because you can interface to a PC, right? So you can just have it stand alone, or you can use it with a program like UIView. This one not so good. You can't interface it to the PC. You can use it for walking around, good for doing the little tracking, but if you want to try to hook it to the computer, you're out of luck. Okay, so quickly, for those of you who have not played in APRS at all, the logical progression that happens is that most people that I get started, and you've seen a lot of those people on the map there in Kansas City, they stole my discs. A whole bunch of CDs. All right, very good. Thank you. Yeah, everybody wants these. These are 25 bucks a piece. Okay, so software, right? So that's what people start. You can take this disc, and I'll help any of the groups that want to do an install later tonight after you see what we can do, and you want to use it to track balloons. I'll show you specifically how we track balloons with this software. It takes about, with Windows XP, it takes about 20 minutes for me to install this, maybe a little less. If you got Windows 7, it's a little longer. But most people will start by installing this. You don't need any hardware because it has it with an internet connection. You can get the entire data feed from the internet, and it looks like you have a modem, so you can't tell the difference. Okay, so most people start with the software, and then the next step up. Oh, this is what that looks like. They got the software installed, and it's disconnected to the internet, and the whole feed comes down from the APRS internet servers. All right. Free for the most part. We do ask you to donate 25 bucks if you can afford it. If not, we're not going to hold your feet to the fire too hard. Step 2 then is that they like it. They see the software works really cool, and they want to play the next role, which is RF. So let's get some actual RF involved in this. How do I do that? And how do I help the network? So what happens is you add a radio and an antenna, obviously, with a TNC to enhance the local network and to enhance your toys. So now we got an old style TNC that we found laying around the basement that we haven't used in 24 years. And we got an old VHF radio laying around somewhere. And we plug all that in and it works, right? So the cost of this, well, if you've been a ham for more than 10 years, it's probably free because you probably got it. But if not, if you're a good smart shopper on either on the classifieds or the Hamfest, less than 100 bucks, you can be on the air through the internet and over RF on APRS. Next option people usually want to do is, okay, I got to work in a home. How do I get this to work in my vehicle so that I can go out and track these balloons since they're not coming to me? So the first one is just a tracking only. This would be where other members of your balloon group could see where you are, not where you could see where the balloon is. Okay, so a little bit more helpful, but not exactly the end goal. But what you need there again is just we would have some sort of GPS, some sort of tracking TNC. In other words, this is just transmit only, and some sort of radio, or you could do a tracker like a Big Red Bee, or there's a whole host of others. That's usually how people progress. Probably in the $200 price range here again if you're a good shopper. And then the final ultimate holy grail of APRS is to have the laptop and the TNC and the feed all in your vehicle, and to be able to see where all that good stuff is happening on screen, where all of my balloons are, and get notifications about that. So we've got the laptop, we've got some sort of TNC operation, either an all-in-one that has the GPS built in here, or like a KPC3 Plus with your GPS plugged in, and again the old standby VHF radio. About $300 range, somewhere in there, depending on how well you shop. Assuming you already have a laptop, does not include the laptop price. Okay, so what do I need to get started on this software? Preferably Windows XP. If you got 7, like I said, it's a little more difficult. Good memory, like a meg. I'm sorry, wouldn't that be nice? Like a gig and a half would be awesome. You don't have to have that much, but the more stuff you get going on the screen, the longer it's going to take to redraw. So more memory is definitely better. You can run them. People have run them on Pentium 4s or better with no problems. Laptops in that way work just fine. Did I mention XP? Okay, so software we're not going to talk about today is Xafter. Some people can get that to work. You can make it work with Linux. There is a Ubuntu live disk that is the easiest that I've found. It's still not that easy. There are a lot of maps. They're open source and available. It is still being actively developed, so that's all the pros. The cons are it's not a Windows program. Some people would say that's a pro, but in any case, the mapping is still quite slow. Even though there's a lot of maps, they tend to be pretty slow. And there is a big learning curve if you haven't played Linux before. Easiest way to do it is just, if you know somebody's running an APRS, Google their call sign. I almost guarantee, unless they've got a really big website, the first hit you get is going to take you to aprs.fi because it's most often updated. So if you just Google their call sign, that's the best way. Right? There's Dayton last year. And that's actually only about 4 or 5 hours worth of activity. So quite a bit of stuff going on when a whole bunch of hams get together, as you can imagine. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you, this is specifically for UI view. So what my goal is here is to show you how you could use this tomorrow. If you decide to get with me and get a disk and have me help you install it this evening after we wrap up here after dinner or whatever, I'm happy to do that with any groups. I'm going to be at the Hampton Inn. If you've got another place that you've got a group of people that wants to help with the installs, I'm happy to come over and do that. Once that's done, I want you to know what tricks you want to use to be able to use this for balloons, okay? All right, so first thing I want us to be able to see is, okay, that's what the world map looks like, right? A lot of activity in the U.S. because that's where I got my filter turned on for. So there's the world map. And, yeah, it didn't show me the detailed map. Hold on one second. Yeah. Mouse. Give me back control, Bill. All right. Oh, it's gone. All right. Well, that's another kind of error. All right. Fine. We'll just skip that. All right. Well, so we have detailed maps as well as world maps. You can get down to street level view. So down to your neighborhood, your block is extremely precise, and it gives you opportunity to see turn-by-turn directions with ease. Okay, the other thing that's interesting is that you can do search. Okay, so if someone tells you their address, what county they're in, what state they're in, their phone number, what mile marker they're at or their call sign if they are active in APRS. You'll be able to see all those things just by doing a search. So you put in an address search. It's obviously just an address you go to. Takes you right to the map. The county, just the county and state. State, just the state. And the first 6 digits of a phone number will actually take you to the central office address location for that exchange. If it's a mile marker, call sign would be anybody, again, that's active in APRS. It's not going to be all the call signs that everyone has. It's just anybody who's running APRS. And then the last one is mile marker. Very handy if you hear someone on the repeater who's had a problem on I-70 at mile marker 202. You can see exactly where they are. Yes. No, it's resident, yeah. So you don't have to have an internet connection. Precision mapping 8. Yep. And so that's a good point. So the install DVDs that I have here, anyone could go out, you could buy precision mapping and you could go download all the software. The rest of the software is basically free. And you could get all these components to work together and you could get what I have here. What I've done for you though is I've put all those into the a more standardized install where it's 7 steps instead of about 35 steps to get all of them to work together. So that's the advantage. You can do it in about 20 minutes instead of several days of agony. Another handy thing when you're traveling around doing balloon chasing is repeater overlays. So you can actually, this is all the ones that I include because I have access to this data. We've got Kansas, Oklahoma, Missouri, Nebraska, South Dakota. You can see the closest repeater to you. So you turn this overlay on. This lives on your computer, and you turn it on, and boom, you can see which repeaters are close. It also has the trustee information as well as the tone and everything you need to know about that particular repeater and how to use it. All right, so then you also have, I said there's a nice opportunity to get some idea about what's going on with the winds by seeing the winds on the ground. So just double clicking on a weather station, you can get all these different little values here out of it. Wind direction, speed, barometric pressure, temperature, dew point, all that from a live perspective. You can also then get warnings, watches, advisories from the National Weather Service using UINWS. All this stuff is in the standard install that I put on the DVD. So you don't even have to configure it. It comes up automatically. So when those counties come up, that's what they look like. And if, as you know, the National Weather Service now does warnings, watches, not only by counties, but also by polygons. So if they do a polygon watch for some reason, that's theirs. And then if you want to know more information about that particular storm, I can see it. Why isn't it on there? Oh, I guess the battery's dead. You can configure the weather server and get you a whole text readout of exactly what that warning or watch, how it is put out in their paragraph text. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Killing all the batteries today. So that's the weather information that comes directly from the National Weather Service. So far, everything that I've covered, you can get on the internet. Okay, let's talk about tracking and zooming. Tomorrow, we're going to have how many balloons in the air for the final count? 12? Okay, so depending on if you are a team member and are focused on one particular balloon, or if you are on a team that has 2 or 3 balloons that you want to be watching, you can select which items you want to track. So you can turn on tracking for those particular call signs that you want to watch. And then as you are driving, if you have a GPS type TNC that we plug into, your crosshairs, as they move around, will show along with all those selected balloons. See if I got a picture of what that looks like. There we go. So the little red circles are items that are tracked. Okay? So we're tracking these guys, and we're tracking my blue crosshairs. Okay? So what happens if I'm driving up here, and before I get off the screen, this guy goes off the screen? What do you suppose is going to happen? It's going to zoom out, right? So it will zoom to accommodate all the stations you are tracking, so you can see them all on the map at one time. You can turn that off and on very easily. If you need to zoom in to get a real close-up of where you're going to need to make a turn, you need to be able to turn that off and on. And just hit F12. You can toggle that off and on. Okay, so UI height track. All right, so a couple different predictions have shown you line track of where the balloon's going to go. So the cool thing about UI height track is that it does the same thing with actual data. So as the balloon makes its breadcrumb trail of updates, as it gives you the position report, this will draw a line behind it so you can see how it's progressing. What's interesting is that you can scale it and have the color of that line change so that you can visually see where was my route up and where was my burst and where did I come down. So your scale here, you can change that. I generally run it when I'm driving around about here. I would add another 0 there to the top end if I'm tracking balloons. The other thing that it shows you is what's my rate of ascent and what's my deceleration. So a couple of specific balloon fields that are shown. What we recommend is that you put in any balloons in here that you want to track. So under the tracking menu, there's a what stations option, and you would just put your balloon call signs in there. Nicely, there is on the back of the agenda a list of all the balloon call signs. So if you want to track and see everybody that's going up tomorrow, I would add under the tracking menu to what stations all the balloon call signs. In fact, I've already done that. So when you add those, you got a nice list there of which stations you are tracking. Okay, history. So another handy thing to do, and actually this should be selected as a log file, this will keep a log for you of every position report you hear from your balloon or whoever you've selected. But if you want to, like I've got mine set up right now with all the call signs on there, so it will keep every single position report that it hears. I'm fortunate enough to have a internet card, so I'm going to get feed not only from RF, but also over the air. So, but this will plug in as another one that you want to have turned on if you're tracking balloons, so you can see where your peak was and see where that last position report was. Movement alarm. This is another good one. This one, all it does is shows you where the last position was and lets you get an alarm. So you can, if you're paying attention to 2 or 3 balloons or you're paying attention to the road, you can know when the last time your balloon gives you a report because it makes a little London police sound, doo, 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 every time that happens. So about every 30 seconds, or tomorrow, about every 3 seconds, that's going to go off. So I might not set it for all of them tomorrow. I might just set it for the ones that I'm really interested in. Otherwise, you're going to get really annoyed. Okay, that's the primary functions that you want to use in UIView, and that allows you to be able to, again, track all the balloons you want to see the breadcrumbs, and keep track of their logs so that you have a report after the fact and have all the data on the launch. Okay, and I apologize for going so fast, but I know there's nobody that's going to hate me for that. So, okay. I'm sorry.
Wide range of serial ports?
Yeah, pretty wide. I think it goes up to 9, 1 through 9. No, well, kind of, but it's difficult. So there's another, I'll have a discussion with you offline on that one. Yep. Other questions?
The weather service, radar and all that, I get on my TMB 710 messages from obviously Caddy and weather warning.
Mm-hmm.
What if, how does somebody broadcast that out over the air for their area? Is that done through that software?
Nope, this one doesn't do it. Xaster is one of the ones that's most popularly used because you have to kind of segment what counties you're going to do, and you have to have a list of the counties you're going to transmit. So UIV does not do that, but Xaster does.
That particular UI.
This one receives it from. Correct. So there's 2 different pieces there. One is radar. Okay, cannot get radar over the air. We have a program in Kansas City where we actually have a machine set up to do slow scan TV to do that, but it's much more complicated. It's a lot more work. But those National Weather Service settings do over there quite often. Any of the metros, Wichita, Kansas City, and within 100 miles, you should be able to get those, and those come over RF. So you'll, with that plug-in, it'll be automatic. Yep. Good question. Anything else? Okay, so for groups that are interested in putting this on, especially if you have hardware, just let me know. I will put hands on, make sure you get it going for tomorrow. And I've got several install discs if you want to take some home to the folks at home. Okay? Any other questions? One more question? Oh, you want the disc? Okay. All right. All right. Here we go.
We do have iGate coverage for Rideau County.
And I'm actually, we have a couple of folks that are iGating from their internet cards, I believe. I'm going to be doing that. And so if you are running on a frequency other than 144.39, we have 3-4 covered, I think, maybe. If there's another frequency you need to iGate, just let us know. There's a dead spot there. Yeah. The last ones, and if you can, one last plug. So it does say you do have to pull a seal where it begs you one more time, please donate. So if you are able to, please contribute. Yay, thank you. It's like my tip jar. I got to do something to time it. You don't know, I gave him that 5 minutes ago. So give me this back and then. All right, got one left. All right. Okay, and if you have questions tonight, my information is on the help file. You can just call me on the phone, but I'll be hanging around. So happy to help.
Okay, guys. Thank you very much. Thank you for Brian for doing that in double time.